Well, fam and friends, I'm finally about to jump out of my skin. Music is getting on my damn nerves. You go through your whole life, and every now and then people come across some epiphany, some life changing situation, a car accident, whatever the case may be. In my case, there's a few things. The last few years, a lot of things have happened to make me realize that my calling is probably something totally different. As I said before, one should focus on the things that they do absolutely most naturally, the natural default. And it's not, I mean, unfortunately, it's not until a lot of us get much older, we go through accidents, we've wasted 20, 30, 40, 50 years of our life, and we're on our deathbed, and we realize, man, I wish I'd have done this, I wish I'd have done that. All right, I'm doing a daily grind now with a regular job because I had to put aside things that are most important to me: my music, my love, my passion, my arts, my theater. To take care of my kids, do something nice for my kids, a little college fund money and whatever. But that's what you do. I mean, that's the whole purpose of having kids, to succeed you. That's the whole point. You got a lot of deadbeat dads out there doing their thing, for whatever reason. But I'm trying to do my best for my kids. But I'm still missing something. Music was placed in my life very early. My dad died when I was really young, but he sang at juke joints. He and his brother were big on that in Mississippi and down in Memphis. And put a guitar in my hand, but it didn't take. But every time I'd come home for vacation, after we moved away, every time I come down, my uncle like, "Boy, can you sing? But boy, can you sing?" And every time I came down, I felt like I had to audition for him or something. I had to have a song ready because I knew he was going to come. And it's amazing. I never took the sports because I didn't have anybody to teach me. Single mom in the hood, didn't have the money to send me places like Juilliard, and our schools in the hood didn't have the sax lessons. Sax is my favorite instrument. Never learned to really play it. All that good stuff. But every church and seems like every church, every school, and library had a piano. And the wonderful thing about piano is that no matter who you are, we can all press the same key and get the exact same note on that same instrument. I thought it was a beautiful thing, and that was long before we ever imagined the advent of the synthesizer. And a lot of people hate synths because some people claim it puts musicians out of work. I mean, if to each his own. My thing is, God inspires us, or if you don't believe in God, whatever, you get inspiration. You get ideas. People get ideas. They're lifelong. And it's based on things that you take in. You are what you eat. Throughout your life, you experience things, and eventually you're inspired to match those things together, which is called synthesis. You put these things together, and you come up with a voice all your own eventually. And for that reason, it's been haunting me all my life. I've been writing music ever since I was a kid. And I'm going to go into this a little deeper later on. I believe I came up in probably one of the best generations. Every generation has this thing to be proud of, so I'm not knocking anybody. But I was born at the end of the baby boom, the last year of the baby boom. So baby boomers, the cool thing is we got to learn a lot from our grandparents who had the most outstanding war veterans, World War I and World War II, all that stuff, and you had music making major changes, big band, all that good stuff before me. But my era, when I came up, I had the remnants of that stuff being played in the house. I also had the advent of new artists such as Jimi Hendrix. You had all these people that are bringing things new to the table. Chuck Berry, people bringing things to the table that were totally changing everything. And even though our grandparents had things like electricity, our great-grandparents had things like electricity being invented and all this stuff, my era has seen so much stuff with the advent of the internet and synthesizers allowing me to finally get the ideas out of my head and get them down into a format where someone else can finally give them justice. I mean, I can't afford to pay the finest musicians to do whatever. But like the young hip-hop artists in the very beginning who just took whatever was available to them. If you couldn't play an instrument and you didn't have the money to go and learn to play those different instruments, you took what was put there before you, and you mixed and you cut and you spliced and put them together. And the wonderful thing about that is you get a way of keeping the older sounds fresh. You bring things forward from the past. Everything old is new again. There's nothing new under the sun, King Solomon was quoted saying. So with that, we stand on the shoulders of giants, truly. And the whole purpose of me introducing this, what I want to do is I want to start a forum of for songwriting. I don't claim to be all that or anything. I want to make sure that's understood. I don't claim to be a know-it-all, but I've experienced a lot. And once again, we are what we eat. Well, we are what we're taking in. People say, that don't kill you makes you stronger. I should be Hercules by now. I've been in a lot of crap. People have been through a lot more than I have. We've all been through our share. But bottom line is, we all have a voice. And the most beautiful thing about music is it gives us that voice that most people across the board can understand if they have an ear. Even if they don't have good hearing, the idea is rhythm. We all respond to that since the beginning of time. We respond to rhythms in nature. Even if you don't hear sound, you see, just like seeing the dash lines on the highway. That's a rhythm. That's why it hypnotizes you and puts you to sleep. You get that space, blank space, the space line. Bottom line is implied, okay? Lights flashing, a strobe effect. Humans respond to things like this. And the problem of it is there's so many of us that forget that music is so important, and they want to take a lot of this stuff out of schools because I guess some people don't feel it turns a good buck or whatever. But bottom line is music is important. Music is ridiculously important. Without it, there'd be a whole lot of folks who can't make sense of life, and we know we got enough folks going crazy as it is, doing crazy stuff in society. But imagine if you didn't have the arts to help calm and help people make sense of things and have an outlet to put things out. So with that, all my life I've been writing. I'm just finally deciding that, look, I'm getting sick of pushing aside the thing I do most naturally, as natural as breathing. I have to keep working and stay busy to keep myself from being able to worry about missing ideas. During Desert Storm, I was in the Marine Corps. During Desert Shield, Desert Storm, obviously I couldn't have a piano, couldn't have a keyboard with me, all that stuff, but I carried a tape recorder. Yes, for the young kids that don't understand, look it up, Google it. But I'd take a tape recorder with me. Before we had MP3 recorders, I would record different ideas, song ideas. I would ask people at random, okay, give me a theme to write from. Give me a word. Give me a phrase. Give me your story. I'll write it down and I'll transcribe it. And what I would do is I would work on a song from scratch. And the idea was to keep my chops up because I've been writing for the longest. I didn't want to lose that. And I didn't want to lose any great ideas as they came. So I stopped and thought. I said, well, Dad, when I get back to the world, so to speak, I knew I had my keyboard there. I had a few basic tools to work with. I couldn't afford to have a whole lot of really good gear, but I had enough to get my basic ideas down. And when I came back, I said, okay, finally, I'm gonna attend to a lot of these things. And a lot of this stuff got put on the back burner because I finally got married. That took music took a back seat. Had kids, it took a further back seat. But bottom line is, I finally realized that the one thing that makes me happy, besides my kids showing me love, is the fact that God gave me creativity. I went to school for theater and studio design. So, acting is my background, degree in theater technical design. I love designing, but my biggest problem with ideas is they come so fast. My teachers will tell you the biggest problem I had was stopping in the brainstorming phase and finally getting into the production phase of making it happen, because for every idea, I get umpteen different versions of the ideas spawning off different ways. Likewise, when I write music, and I'll start working on the song, and at every other chord change, I'm like, oh man, I could go a totally different direction with the song. It's like having a story and having alternate endings. And it dawned on me, I said, man, this is the thing I do most naturally. If I could write lyrics, if I could write music, if I could write beats and sounds, just whatever. I hate saying do music. Do it. You don't do music. You create music and you perform music. You don't do music. But at any rate, I know it sounds bougie, right? Yeah. Anyway, but the idea is that I said, man, if this could be the thing that I did for the rest of my life, this is my magic if. It's like, hey, my son, this magic if no other excuses went your way, if no friends, what they had to say, and you don't know how to do it, wasn't in the way, if money and time, what would you want to do? Think about, okay, now what's stopping you? And he said, me. I said, light bulbs coming on. And over the months after I questioned him that, it dawned on me that likewise, I hadn't slowed down and worked enough and put enough of my own distractions aside to think about what my own magic gift was. if I could, and it has nothing to do with money at all. I mean, God will bless me, I believe, if I do good things and put good things out there, pay it forward. But I said, man, if all I could do for the rest of my life and get the bills paid and keep a roof over my head and keep me fed and keep the kids taken care of was write music for the rest of my life, that's what I do. I paint, I scenic design, cooking, anything that deals with making something from nothing. That's me. I love recycling. I like making things. And I'll post some stuff eventually online again and show some of the different skill sets I have. I relocated to Atlanta, giving up a lot of ideas and dreams and stuff to take a chance on. I understand Tyler Perry was going to be opening up. He's working on building a studio on an old Army base, but they got to get the base all cleaned up, my understanding. So it'll be a while before that takes place. But my job is to create. This is what God gave me. God's greatest attribute to me that I can see is his ability to create. Whether you believe in God or whatever, bottom line is creation to me. Whoever you want to attribute it to. Being creative is everything. Because without innovation, we would not continue to exist. We have to be able to create things and imagine things. If you keep doing the same old thing you've always done, then that's repetitious, and you eventually face extinction possibility because you don't learn to evolve and be able to adjust on things that's coming. Bottom line, music has been my conduit. So I said, dag, I had an awakening, I had an epiphany when my grandma passed a little while ago. And I realized my great-grand, my great-great-grandparents, grandmoms, they lived to be over 100. They were centenarians. And I said, well, dag, that's really awesome. But my grandma died and she had Alzheimer's. And I think about the times when I'm forgetful of things. And I think about things I'm not as sharp as I used to be. And I know that in schools, people who study music theory and stay tight on it, their brains are sharper. People who do things and keep their brain active, playing chess, whatever. That's why I taught my son at 5. I want to keep the brain going. But when you get caught up in the mundane all the time, you don't exercise the brain as much. And I realized that, man, I have been putting aside the things that's most important to me, and that's being creative. And I stopped and thought, well, what happens if I drop dead a month from now, a year from now, whatever? Tomorrow's not promised anybody. What if all the ideas I've been given, God or whoever created us did not give us this for nothing, but more as a bigger travesty? What would happen imagine if I had the key, if you have the key to something that could make the world so much better a place, but it's not out there in time enough before you pass on. You may have a cure for it or whatever. You may be able to plant that one seed to keep somebody from going postal and ending stuff. Who knows? But I stopped and thought about that. I said, well, here's the deal. It ain't about money. I would love to be able to make huge amounts of money, be a millionaire, the whole 9 yards, have great endorsements. I'm using my camera phone now for this. Somebody can endorse me and give me a nice camera to do a video conferencing. But I stopped and thought, I said, dang, what if I go ahead and share some of the ideas I've written? Some of my music is copywritten. Some of it I've got to go ahead and start getting my catalog built up. I've already set up with BMI. I'm going to go ahead and start getting my publishers together. But the idea is, I want to go ahead and share what inspires me to write. I write in every genre there is. And not everyone had to go through Juilliard and everything else. I wish I had the opportunity. But I didn't come up with that kind of my mom didn't have that means. And I thought, man, what if I could build a foundation where I could raise money from the music I create to give back, to give scholarships to kids from any cities or places who just can't afford it, who have this up here. Imagine a person who has ideas for these awesome symphonies and opuses in their head, but they don't have the means of playing. Someone was making fun of one artist who got on stage, Justin Bieber. Somebody was playing guitar and they made a mistake, and then somebody came back on Facebook and said, well, he's a pro, he should be able to do this flawlessly, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, okay, in some cases, yeah, I understand, but in some cases, just because you wrote a song don't mean that you got to be a virtuoso. Just because you have an idea, you may have an idea for an awesome design for a car or for a house. Doesn't mean just because you may not have the engineering skills, but you see something in your mind's eye. It's about you connecting with the right people to help you get it done. We're all giving a different piece of the puzzle. In my particular case, I'm inspired to write by anything, whether I'm writing from a beat, whether I'm writing from a simple word. when I was during Desert Storm, I've told some people, okay, give me a half an hour timeline. Give me 2 days to work on such and such. Give me a timeline, whatever. And I'd come back and I'd give them something. And it may not be as sharp as I wanted, but I had the gist of the song basically in place just to keep myself sharp. And when I got back to the States, it gave me time to work on things. I never ran out of things to write. I've never had writer's block. In high school, I had teachers that would teach me the basics of writing poetry and stories and everything. And then every now and then somebody would say, well, I would say it this way, I'd say it that way, and I would feel bad because, okay, they give me constructive criticism, but I didn't realize later on that, okay, it's helping me grow. But at the same time, it didn't dawn on me until later on, wait a minute, I can use their idea, but I can use my idea still. It doesn't mean I got to throw mine away. I used to take it really personal. And I got the idea. I said, wait a minute. All these ideas I've been writing down over the years are great for songs. Like, for instance, I was saying the other day that people need to think about what we write about. There's so many things to write about, and people come up with writer's block, and they say they didn't know what to write about. I said, wait a minute. Anything and everything you say can be used in a song. Anything and everything you hear in nature around you can be used in song. It's up to you whether or not you want to use it. A lot of artists are so quick to go to a quick go-to, the quick love experience, the quick hurt, the emotions that we humans typically feel on a regular. Those are things people most typically want to go straight to because they're easy. It doesn't take a whole lot of work. I can write a love song in a drop of a hat. That's simple. I've written several love songs and hurt me songs, and I've written probably 3 or 4 wedding songs. Wrote my own wedding song, as a matter of fact. But there are plenty of things out there we can write from. As I was telling somebody before, you can write from what you're talking about right now. And thus, I turned around here within a year ago. Somebody, was it 29 Monkeys? I forget the name of the group. Please forgive me. But the guy said, I wish I could come up with a song where the chords are new or the words are new. You need to make money. I forget. Y'all know the song. But the idea is, the guy finally said, he said exactly what I was saying. I wish I could write a song that has something new. He was thinking out loud and suddenly put it to words. And so often you can research songs that are big hits and look at the history of how these artists have come up with these lyrics, and you never realize that, oh, it came from as simple as that. Really? Or, Bohemian Rhapsody, some people said they were high when they were in it. They may have been. I don't know. Not that I wanted drugs or anything, but inspiration can come from anywhere. It's a matter of if you're bold enough to take it to that level. And what I want to do when starting in this Songwriters Forum is I want to challenge any and everybody out there who ever thought about writing music. Because really, it's not about how good you are. It's like being, in my case, I went to school for theater tech design. I put it on hold for a while as far as pursuing it. But it's not about how good your design is. It's about how well you sell your idea to someone who's going to back you and put it out there. You can be a most awesome writer of any other type, whether you're writing novels or whatever. But bottom line is, if someone doesn't believe in you well enough to promote you out there and put you in a circle of people who believe and like what you got, you'd never get heard. Thus some people self-publish. But think about it. How many times have you heard a song that you absolutely did not like, but the person who put it out is a millionaire? Or there's a certain genre of music you don't like, whether it's gangster rap or whether it's country, whatever the case may be. To each his own. And that's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing about music. Music is a language. And just like what I'm speaking to you now, some people may not be interested in it. They may not get excited about writing music, so you can turn the channel. I get it. You're into sports. I'm not into sports. I worked out of St. Louis and drove celebrity sports stars around on a regular basis. The Cardinals, the Blues, the Rams. I wouldn't know one of these people if they walked in front of my face. Doesn't mean I don't care about them. I'm not being disrespectful. I just don't know sports. It never excited me. So they're just people. They're important people. I respect that. Now, music, however, that lights me up. I'd still be just as respectful, however, to the stars. I've never been starstruck. I think the first celebrity I met, I saw Flip Wilson, but I actually met Eartha Kitt personally. I didn't flip out, a little nervous because I was in high school, but I just wasn't raised to treat those people as if they were something that much more special. They're people. They're just people with a job, okay? The job that we happen to envy, okay? But the bottom line is, I want to write. And my challenge, I started this as a challenge to myself. I want to challenge myself before I drop dead to get some things out there while I can, okay? But more importantly, I want to give respect to those people who have taught me vicariously. Earth, Wind, and Fire has been really huge for me. David Foster, Quincy Jones, Carol Bayer Sager was just mentioned by Babyface on CNN, as he was talking about music being a language that should bring us together, no matter who's running for office. Just like in music and song, there's so many things we can say. We may not all agree with what a person has to say, but for everything that anybody's got to say, somebody likes it. It's just about finding your niche. And a lot of time producers, unfortunately, are, I believe, taking a lazy way out. They'll go to the things that falls right in sync with what's the typical norm of the trend of the time, and they won't get bold enough to step out and try something different. There's plenty of talented artists out here, just like having a supermodel. You got a whole bunch of people on the street every day that I see that make these supermodels look like nothing. But yet and still, it's about being in the right place, right time, knowing the right person. Okay, but for those who like to write just for the mere passion of it, the whole gist of me setting this up, I want to start a video forum and encourage writers and ask you for your input. And at the same time, I'm going to get some input. I'm going to share some things that I've written. I'm going to share some backstory as to how I came up with the ideas. And I'm going to draw a parallel in comparison to some of the more reputable artists that you already know of, and how I think they probably came up with something similar. Look at some of the tenets and things that are really paramount in building that particular sound. Every artist has their signature sound. If you didn't know a new song was by Babyface, you probably know it was Babyface when you heard it. It doesn't mean that his song sounds exactly like every other one, but there's certain signature things that are on it. Like, for instance, I might like a certain sound effect. I like a lot of bells and tines and stuff because I was influenced early by Earth, Wind, and Fire and whatever. So you have a lot of that sound and a lot of stuff I do, but not every single song I have that sound. And the main reason is because I don't limit myself to the type of music that I appreciate. I listen to opera, I listen to classical, I listen to everything, and not just every now and then, but on the regular. I really do listen to everything, and it's hard for me to listen for ambience sake. I don't know too many people that are like me that cannot listen to music too often just to enjoy it. It's like you being an expert in a certain subject and watching a movie on it, and you want to dissect the movie. For some weird reason, that has always been me with music, especially after I got out of high school and I finally decided I wanted to write. Not writing for a profession, but writing just to ease my mind. I've been through a lot of stuff. We've all been through stuff. Music has been the one thing to keep me in the land of the living. We've all gone through our stuff, and I'm not going to get real dark on anybody. But the bottom line is I want to share. And I'm encouraging other writers, if you decide you want to get some new ideas, if you think you've ever had a writer's block, I'm encouraging you to check my videos out. I'm going to start putting a few out just a little bit at a time. It won't be as long as this one, but I want to introduce myself so you get an idea. Once again, I'm not coming to you like I've been to some major university for music or whatever. I'm self-taught. I'm not school-taught.